Welcome back in on this Wednesday. Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, the Jersey from the Princeton Orthopedic Associate Studios. In time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associate Studios is 516-609-919-9200. This is the Zach Gelb Show. A lot of Eagles news today. Nick Foles released from the L.A. Rams, and a lot of stuff going on with Nigel Bradham, and Carson Wentz gets the number one reps today. Don't worry, don't change your depth chart. That's because Chase Daniel and Sam Bradford were given the day off. And now joining us on the hotline does a tremendous job covering the Eagles for Philly Voice, and that is Jimmy Kempski. Jimmy, what's happening and how are you?
Good, Zach. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and I appreciate you giving us a few minutes today. So a whole lot about this Nigel Bradham story. You saw what Howard Eskin had to report, where it was actually the employee for the hotel hitting Bradham's girlfriend, and then you saw what the employee of the hotel had to say, that he did not put his hands on Nigel Bradham. What are you hearing, and who do you believe in this mess?
I don't believe Bradham's story for a second.
I agree with you. It doesn't look good for him.
Take. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why I love the way that the report was. I love the way it was initially reported, where Fox 10 in Miami referred to the guy as the Cabana Boy. But I can't understand why the quote unquote Cabana Boy would just decide to throw a punch at, a guy that's 6'2", 240 pounds, and could just destroy him. Apparently he's like 150 pounds. I think that's what this guy told Jeff McClain on the phone. So I can't understand why a Cabana Boy would just throw a punch at a guy that's going to destroy him if he does. It just doesn't hold water in my view. So, Bradham's going to say, Bradham said what he said, and, certainly they'll investigate, and typically the truth will come to light, but, I don't know. We'll see. Clearly, Bradham is going to have to answer to reporters as he comes off the field tomorrow.
And it's not like this guy is a Cabana Boy. He's a man. He's 50 years old, too.
Right. He's kind of more like a Cabana man than a Cabana Boy.
Right. As Jimmy Kempski joins us, does a tremendous job covering the Eagles for Philly Voice. So today, Doug Peterson said they're going to wait, and they're not going to punish him right now, and they're going to wait to see more information from South Florida. If this looks like the way that I expect it to go, where clearly Nigel Bradham is guilty, and you still have to let this thing play out, but I agree. I think it looks like his story is not as believable as the Cabana man or boy, whatever you want to call him, story is. Do the Eagles, are they going to eventually have to cut him? Does the league suspend him? What do you think happens with Bradham?
No, they're not going to cut him. They can't cut him. I mean, they don't have enough depth there. He's penciled in to be, not penciled in, but he's going to be a starter this year with, Jordan Hicks is going to play in the middle, and Kendrick is going to play the weak side, and Bradham's going to play the Sam. So, but beyond those guys, really all you have left is with the only guy with any kind of playing experience whatsoever in terms of the Eagles' depth is Najee Goode. And maybe if you want to throw another guy in there, Deontay Skinner has played, I think, like 7 or 8 games over his career and has one start. You can throw him in too, but he's kind of a long shot to make the roster. They drafted a guy in the 7th round with the third to last pick in the NFL draft, in Joe Walker. And then they have a couple undrafted guys in Mike Tavares and Quentin Goss or Dave. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I probably learned that before I go on the radio. Those guys will be competing for spots too. But, they don't really have much in the way of depth. So they're not going to cut him. They're not going to punish him either. I mean, if he's going to be punished, he's going to be punished directly by the NFL as opposed to the team itself. So, it'll play out, and we'll see how it goes. But for now, he's going to be practicing tomorrow. And
they have to make him available to the media tomorrow, right?
Well, I mean, he's going to be walking off the field, and the media is going to be all over him. I mean, in theory, Bradham can just say, I'm not talking, and that'll be, on him, whether he wants to do that or not. But I don't think the Eagles will say, you guys can't talk to him, because that's typically just not the way it goes.
Imagine if he doesn't talk tomorrow, and I'm sure he can't really add that much because it's still an ongoing investigation, and if his lawyers and PR people are telling him the right thing, they would say that you just can't comment on this stuff. But imagine if he doesn't talk tomorrow, all hell will break loose at training camp tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reporters just won't have anything to write on the topic other than that he didn't talk. So, I mean, I don't know that it'll really blow up in some kind of major way, but the longer that you don't answer questions, the longer people's imaginations kind of run away with them.
Let's get to the quarterback in Carson Wentz, and he was getting the number one reps today with both Bradford and Daniel having the day off. What have you seen so far out of Wentz, and what have you liked, and what do you think he needs to improve on?
Yeah, Wentz is a guy that I really started watching back in December. I started watching his North Dakota State games. I really liked him right away. I saw him in person for a week down in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl practices, and then I saw him again in person in Indianapolis at the Combine. I've liked him all along. And what he is he's a big guy, obviously. It's 6'5", roughly 237 or so. He's got a big arm. He can really sling it. He's got athletic ability, so he can certainly run far better than Sam Bradford, and he's a better runner than Chase Daniel as well. And really, from pretty much any physical attribute standpoint that you can think of, he is superior to the other two Eagles quarterbacks. But he's a rookie, and he's going to make mistakes occasionally. You'll see him stare some things down and kind of force things into tight windows that he probably shouldn't. And that's okay. I mean, those are the kinds of things that the rookies are going to do. And, there were a few times today where, he was throwing one route and the receiver was running another route. You don't know if that's on him or if it's on the receiver. But, again, that's the kind of thing that you're going to have especially the quote-unquote rookie version of this camp right now where, it's just rookies, quarterbacks, and a few select vets. So, he's got a ways to go. I mean, and that's understandable with, him coming from a smaller school at North Dakota State, but the physical attributes are all there. And he makes during OTAs and minicamp, there'd be some times where he'd make a play and you go, Sam Bradford and Chase Daniel couldn't do that in their wildest dreams. But again, he does kind of have to adjust to the speed of the game at the NFL level, and he's going to have to learn the playbook, and he's going to have to really kind of get on the same page with all of his teammates. And eventually I think he's going to be fine, and I think he's going to be a really good player. But I can understand why the Eagles do kind of want to take their time with him.
But the thing with the Eagles' plan, and I'm fine if you want to sit him out the first few games of the season, and eventually you have to see him play, unless if the Eagles are a team that Sam Bradford has his career year and you get something back for him next year and he leads the team to the playoffs. But I gather, just talking to a lot of the fans and also my evaluation of this team, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't have a lot of confidence in Sam Bradford. But with the plan the Eagles have, it only works, their plan, is if Sam Bradford is going to be able to give you something and stay healthy. And I have no confidence watching Sam Bradford all these years to believe that's going to be the case. Do you have any confidence in Bradford?
No, I'm with you.
He stinks.
A lot of people like to say that he's an average quarterback.
He's awful.
And I don't agree. I think he's a below average.
Thank you.
Below average starting quarterback in the NFL. I just don't agree with that. Last year, I think he was either 25th or 26th in QB rating, which isn't the best comprehensive stat there is, but certainly a decent guide. And he's either 25th or 26th in yards per pass attempt. He threw 19 touchdowns, which was 22nd in the league. Of course, he missed 2 games. The only one stat where he really kind of was in decent shape was completion percentage, which he completed 65% of his passes, which was good for 11th in the NFL. But there's a reason for that. So last year, only 17.3% of his passes traveled more than 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. And that was, we're talking about completed passes here. So 17.3% of his completed passes actually traveled more than 10 yards past the line of scrimmage to their target. That was tied for the lowest percentage in the NFL. So while he had a decent enough completion percentage, the only reason why is because he checked it down all day. So, from every statistical metric that you look at on the season as a whole last year, he's bottom third in the NFL, and in many cases, bottom quarter of the NFL. And again, I just don't think he's the answer. And obviously, neither did the Eagles because they traded up to the number 2 overall pick to select Carson Wentz. I think there's a near 0% chance that Bradford is back in 2017 because they have the most cash spending toward their 2017 salary cap in the NFL, and it's really not even all that close. I think the next closest team is like $10 million away or something like that. Now Bradford, if you cut him, you're going to save $13 million of the $22 million that he's going to count against the cap in 2017. If you trade him, you save 17 of that $22 million that he's going to count against the cap. So it's huge savings if you get rid of him one way or the other next year. I can't imagine a way, just on financials alone, that he's going to remain on the team. If you can get something for him, like you mentioned, if he has a decent enough season, they win a terrible NFC East division, that, maybe you get something in return for him that's decent as well. But as far as, him playing out this season and kind of letting Wentz sit on the shelf, I understand from the fan perspective, as they did just trade up to the number 2 overall pick. You don't really want to watch Sam Bradford for another full season. You'd rather see the kid get in there and see what he can do. But at the same time, they do kind of want to take their time with him and make sure that both he is ready, not only that Wentz is ready, but also that the offense around him is ready. Because you're talking about a new offense here where they kind of have to all get on the same page. The offense line has to be on the same page with the quarterback. The wide receivers have to be on the same page. So it's not even just that Wentz has to kind of be ready, but you want the offense around him to be ready as well before you throw him to the fire.
Let me ask you this, because you just threw out a whole lot of numbers to us and a whole lot of statistics.
My apologies for that rant.
No problem. You kept me in and I understood every word that you said. Do you have all these numbers and statistics on some kind of Excel document, or is that all just in your head and you make yourself look like a really good journalist?
That's all in my head. I mean, it's all just stuff that I've written about throughout the entire summer. I mean, I'm a nerd, and I sit in my loft, and that's what I do.
I like it. So what does Jimmy Kempski do on, like, tonight? It's a Wednesday night. What does Jimmy Kempski do on a Wednesday night?
I will probably be in bed by 8 because I'm an old man, and I'm not that old, but I live a little further away than most of the other reporters. I'm about an hour and 20 minutes away from Philly. So I'm getting up at roughly 4:30 a.m. every day.
Wow.
Just to get. They have camp starts a lot earlier than it has in the past. Last year, Chip Kelly's practices were starting around noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there. Whereas this year they start sometime around, mostly they're going to start. They started at 8:30 so far, and that's going to change to 8:15 at some point. So yeah, I'm getting up early and getting down there really early every day, which also means that I got to get my sleep too. So I'll probably be in bed bright and early.
All right, Jimmy Kempski joins us, and we'll try to wrap this up quickly because I know Jimmy has to go to bed soon now, listening to his schedule. But one positive thing is Jim Schwartz. I know the Eagles' offense, it doesn't look that great. Lack of depth at the wide receiver position. The running backs don't look too hot to me. But let's get to that defense. It seems like a lot of people love Jim Schwartz, and I think Eagle fans are going to love him until he maybe gets another chance to be a head coach.
Yeah, and in the defenses that he's run over the when he's just been a defensive coordinator, he's been really good at that Buffalo defense in 2014. Just look at what they did up and down. You look at their stats up and down. They're tremendous across the board. And the one thing that really stands out to me when you look at the teams that he's either coached or been a defensive coordinator for is that the sack numbers for the players along their defensive line are way higher when they played under Jim Schwartz than they were over the rest of their entire career. So, he's going to bring a very attack-style defense. I think it fits what the Eagles' personnel is better than the defense that they were running a year ago. In Jim Schwartz's defense, you're going to have Fletcher Cox who has the ability to now, try to penetrate and make plays in the backfield, which he did anyway last year. As a two-gapping 3-4 defensive end, which, really when you're a two-gap 3-4 defensive end, you're just trying to kind of tie up the offensive lineman in front of you, and you're playing the gap on each side of him. Whereas in the 4-3, you're just trying to shoot the gap and get penetration and make plays. So it's going to be a huge benefit to him. It's going to be a big benefit to Vinny Curry. It's going to be a benefit to Brandon Graham. It'll be interesting to see how Benny Logan plays in that team. And I think the one guy who's really, really under the radar, I think might be able to turn in a decent year here, is Michael Kendricks. And
wow.
I understand why people are really kind of down on him. 2013, he put up really, really impressive numbers.
I like him.
That's when you had like Chris Collinsworth fawning all over him on Sunday Night Football. And then his numbers fell off in 2014, and his play did too. And then his play fell off again in 2015. And I think you really don't hear anything about Michael Kendricks anymore, about him kind of being this impact player. But he was an animal in 2013, and I think he can get back there in a more of an attack-style defense under Schwartz. It's going to be less thinking, less reading, less reacting, and just go get it. And I think that'll play to Michael Kendrick's strength than the defense that he's been in over the last 3 years under Billy Davis.
Let me ask you this. The one thing I didn't like, though, about Jim Schwartz's defense in Detroit was it wasn't that discipline. Is discipline a concern with this Eagles defense and Jim Schwartz?
Yeah, it's a good question. Discipline in terms of, guys just doing dumb stuff?
Yeah, like penalties. Like you saw a lot of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in Detroit.
Yeah, some of that is obviously Ndamukong Suh,
Good point.
Who's been kind of an idiot, a very talented idiot, but an idiot over the course of his NFL career. I don't think the Eagles really have those kinds of players, so I don't think you'll see those guys really kind of, doing really bonehead things. I'm really. It's a good point. I mean, it's certainly not something that I had thought of, but just my first. Inclination to react to that is, I don't think the Eagles really have the kind of players that they had in Detroit with Ndamukong Suh and who's the other guy from that they Nick Fairley.
Nick Fairley, yeah.
I want to say that maybe he kind of did some of that stuff as well, though I can't really speak that intelligently on that. But certainly Ndamukong Suh was always getting into trouble, stomping on guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also remember a game where it was Brandon Pettigrew, the tight end, also had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
I recall something like that too. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, every team in the league is going to have some kind of incident over the course of the season. But yeah, again, I don't know that I don't know that the Eagles really have guys that are really known for racking up those kinds of penalties, like some of those Lions did.
Wrapping up with Jimmy Kempski, who joins us from Philly Voice. So the big thing that has been made out of Doug Peterson so far, and we still have to see what he does on game day, but you wrote a brilliant article about the wasted timeouts in Kansas City and the way that the plays were called in Kansas City from Andy Reid, then to Doug, and then Doug would relay it to the quarterback. I know it sounded like he changed his tune a little bit today, and he's still evaluating that, but he has to add that third channel, right, Jimmy?
Well, yeah, he didn't know that there was a third channel.
It's ridiculous.
So he didn't know that, and I didn't either. When the head coach says, "Well, you only have two channels available to you, and I want to be on the defensive channel, and I want to be on the offensive channel," and then there's the third channel with the quarterback channel. He didn't think he could be on it. And, a head coach says that, you just believe it. Credit to Jeff McClain of the Inquirer, who went and he said, "That's
good story,"
right. and he looked into it a little bit, and I think the way it went was he talked to a few former NFL coaches, and they said, "No, you can be on all three channels." That's I don't know what he's talking about. And then Tim McManus, the Philly mag, kind of furthered that story, and I think he talked to Peterson, and I don't think Peterson had any idea that you could be on all three channels. It's kind of mind blowing that they wouldn't know something like that. And the reality there is, it's almost kind of like one of the Eagles writers kind of streamlined how the Eagles are going to get the play in
right?
from Peterson's brain to the quarterback. It's amazing that, if you can kind of, if you want to stretch it, you kind of say that Philly Reporter kind of saved the Eagles a number of timeouts because when you're going from head coach calling a play to the offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator is now calling that play into the quarterback. I mean, at a minimum, you're talking about 4 or 5 seconds for that added, for that added speed bump along the way. And the Chiefs a season ago, I looked at all their timeouts they called over the season, and I forget the number but it was around one per game. If you included the two playoff games, I think they wasted either 16 or 17 timeouts over the course of the season. And they were almost all of the the play clock running down variety, and they had to call up before they got a penalty. So you also kind of have to say, well, did Andy Reid not know that rule too? Did Andy Reid not know that he couldn't be on that channel as well for all these years? So it really is kind of a crazy thing that they didn't know that. But certainly just having the head coach call the play. If he's calling the plays, having the head coach call the play directly to the quarterback, it's certainly going to save more time. And there's really no necessity to call it into the offensive coordinator before you get it to the quarterback. So I think they probably are going to change that, and that's how they'll do it.
Jimmy, excellent stuff. Real quickly before we let you run, you have to make a promise for me. Tomorrow when you see John Dorenbos, maybe you could ask him if he could clone you so you could get some more sleep and also cover some Eagles football. Maybe he can make 2 Jimmy Kempskis with his magician trick. So that was just unbelievable last night on America's Got Talent.
Oh, I didn't see it. What did he do? He cloned something?
No, he didn't actually clone something. But what he did was
his magic thing was to duplicate something in some way.
No, what he did was last night on America's Got Talent, and you didn't see the trick. That's right, because you were in bed early. But what he did last night was he had the judges all write something down, and they would draw a picture. So Simon Cowell drew a dog. You also had Heidi Klum. She drew a butterfly. And he then guessed who drew what. But before the act even started, he put something in a glass bottle. And in the glass bottle was what each judge drew before they drew it. So maybe he could help you with that sleep problem of yours, and he could clone you and make you 2 Jimmy Kempskis.
My haters wouldn't like that.
Jimmy, thanks so much. You're the best. I could talk with you all day.
Appreciate it, Zach.